Hey, there's so much news. I don't even know where to begin. But my overall number five story of the day is, ladies and gentlemen, the president of the United States is insane. I mean, insane. There is nothing else you could say about his decisions over the last 24 hours that would make you think anything other than that. I mean, who would try tank the world's leading economy in the way he did, and then try resuscitate it by rigging it, claiming that suggesting, by all accounts, by many people, I'll say myself too, that he rigged the thing so he could make money off it, so his billionaire friends could make money off it, so all these investors in the stock market could make money off it, while forsaking the poor, forsaking everybody else that he's supposedly the leader of, and then appears on camera with all his compadres who did this thing with him, who did this major insider trading, used to be a crime, is actually a crime, but not in his case. And actually said it out loud. Hey, Charles Schwab, they made 2.5 billion.
Penske made 900 million.
So it's insanity that we are here. And then on top
Yeah.
of this, we are continuing the same policy. It's not like we've stopped doing tariffs. We're continuing tariffs. Tariffs are as much a problem today as they were 2 weeks ago. We don't have that Liberation Day bullshit about all these, other countries getting the reciprocal tariffs that they try to do. That's sort of off the front burner for a little bit. But the tariffs against steel, the tariffs against the automobiles, the tariffs against energy, all that's still there. Plus, you're still charging 10% to everybody, which means a massive tax hike.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this president of the United States might be insane. And I'm not the only person saying that. There's actually people yesterday in the stock market and people who do this kind of trading for a reason. And then one of them said in this report here, let me just pull it up. They said, I should have been ready for this, but I was talking about dogs,
Well,
They
I got you off on a dog tangent. I know you're a dog guy. Right?
They said in the last few days, we have had many conversations with macro fund managers. So this is Tom Lee, who's the head of a research firm. And he said, and their concern is that the White House is not acting rationally, but rather on ideology. And some even fear that this may not even be ideology. A few have quietly wondered if the president might be insane. Literally, that's what people who trade these funds are saying. And you have to think it. You have to ask the question. I've got the answer at the end of the show because I don't think he's insane. I just think he's criminally minded. But what do you think?
I think you're onto something. We have watched some seriously insane financial decisions made on behalf of 365 to 375 million people, made on behalf of one person for the entire electorate that only benefits the top 1% of the United States of America. And anybody in the United States, any American who's invested in the stock market with dribs and drabs, $500 here, $1,000 there, that has built up a little bit of wealth over time, lost it all, while people that like to play with the stock market, captains of industry, swooped in and bought depressed assets, bought stock at all-time lows, whether it was Restoration Hardware, Nike, whatever. And I put out a post on this on my Substack today. Of some of the worst offenders. And one of them, and this is going to surprise some people, but maybe not, Marjorie Taylor Greene made hundreds of thousands of dollars of trades.
Yeah.
Minutes, not hours, not days, minutes before Trump put out a tweet on Truth Social that says, today's a great day to buy stocks. Today's a great day to buy. And I have been overwhelmed on Substack to the point where, because we put that tweet out, we're number 2 on the new bestseller list.
Congratulations. You are a rock star. Number 2 on the new bestseller list. Wow.
But we're willing to say the parts, because I'm in Canada and I know I'm not going to get pinned by the United States of America. We're willing to say those parts out loud, where we illustrated how this whole short selling pump and dump bullshit worked. And I went to your Substack article, narrative.org, which everybody should go to talk about this pump and dump. And effectively, it was two things. It was Donald Trump deciding he was going to bring everybody to their knees, world leaders, 75 different countries that are kissing his ass. Those are his words, not mine. We'll revisit that in a second. And on the side, he's telling other people, listen, ride this out. Short the market. We're all going to make a bunch of money while the rest of the world fucking burns. And I mean the rest of the world, including Canada, who have dumped GDP because of these fucking whimsical fucking moments that this asshole has. So here we are now sitting at the precipice of several investigations into insider trading, several investigations into stock manipulation. And it is exactly what we thought it was when we were talking about this the other day, which is, one guy who's got control over everything, the world's biggest economy, the world's biggest military, just bullying his way to more money, to the point where Donald Trump said the other day, in fact, today, and there's a tweet about this. You can go to Aaron Rupar's Twitter handle. You can check him out. You can also get him on Substack, which is where we are today, where he said, I've had worse days where I make $2 billion a day. Like, he literally fucking said that. It's not that he's just insane, which he is. And it's not that he just has dementia, which he is. But the one through line about Donald Trump, which is incredible to me, Zev, it's incredible to me, is his openality to criminality. It's his this idea that he can conduct crime in broad daylight while he makes other people poor because, as you pointed out, he can.
He can. The Supreme Court has given this man permission to commit crimes as much as he wants, and he is taking full advantage of it. And what we saw yesterday, in my opinion, was a little bit of insanity. It was certainly a lot of, I wouldn't call it dementia, but certainly he's lost his moorings, if you will. But more than that, it's just he's a criminal, and he can get away with it now because the Supreme Court has let him do it. Yesterday was a huge crime. Can you imagine walking away personally? And I'll detail this later on because my research was all about how much money he made personally. He personally made $415 million yesterday of an illegal pump and dump scheme, which cost the rest of the world trillions of dollars, and basically could have bankrupted businesses, could have probably did bankrupt businesses, may have even completely destroyed the retirement dreams of people, completely destroyed the education needs of families because they no longer have those funds. But for him, as long as he's able to play the market in a way that he can win $415 million at the end of the day, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, and there's a complete abdication of whatever oath he swore the day that he was inaugurated the second time, which he didn't put his hand on the Bible, and now I'm starting to realize why. Right?
Yeah.
Starting to realize why. And the reason why he didn't put his hand on that Bible is because he knew. He knew at the age of 78, 79, he'll be 79 this year, he was going to rape the United States of America of its wealth. He was going to destroy the people that disgusted him over the past several years, or 50, 60 years of his life, which are the marginalized, the middle class, people that didn't have the guts that he had, people that weren't as strong as he thought he was. And so this is his swan song before he dies. And dude's going to die in the next 4 to 5 years. Like, that is not a healthy man. And so his idea, and the reason why, and a lot of people are talking about him being a kingmaker or him deciding he's going to run for a third term. It'll never happen. They're not going to be able to change the Constitution. The Supreme Court's not going to uphold his idea that he's going to run for a third term. And so he's on tilt at this point, where he's going to destroy anyone and anything, and he doesn't give a fuck who it is, as long as he gets monuments built in his name, as long as he has all the wealth, as long as he can do for other people around him and himself what he wanted to do in the first place, which is steal from people. Trump University comes to mind. Steal from people to enrich himself and transfer their wealth to him and everybody around him that was loyal to him. He is legitimately a criminal, a con man, an authoritarian. He is not a president. America is being run by a mobster. America is being run by a money launderer. America is being run by a human being who really isn't a human being. He's not like us. He doesn't have any feelings about what's not in it for him, or who he's damaging, or what happens after he makes a decision in his own best interest. because none of that fucking matters to him. What matters to him is how can I get, and that's the only thing that matters to him
I
in the
think
swan
the
song.
I think the clinical description you're looking for is a sociopath.
Correct.
And he is that. I mean, I think I've had people who are experts in this on my show before who've detailed that just from the judging him externally by his behavior, you can tell that he's a sociopath, that he exhibits all the outward symptoms, if you will, of a sociopathic person. But in this case, he has got complete impunity to do whatever he does, to do whatever he wants to do. He can
Mm-hmm.
commit any crimes he wants. He can destroy anything he wants over the next 4 years. And I believe he intends to do that. So, when you were talking yesterday about how he's been able to, the whole day, the way the day rolled out, where he's out in broad daylight. He used to say he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and no one would arrest him. Well, in broad daylight yesterday, he did the exact same thing. Basically, he posts this tweet first thing in the morning saying now is a good time to buy, and then he has DJT, which is not only just his initials; they're also the stock ticker symbols for his media company, this Trump social media company. That's basically a front for the Chinese government.
It's a shell. Yeah.
Yeah, and so obviously telling people buy my stock, which some people might have taken quite literally because it looks to everybody when you look at the market action all day that as things were heating up, as the announcement was about to be made, some people clearly had the inside track because they were able to manipulate the prices and they were able to buy in early and they were able to gain, trillions. Are you okay? Of
Yeah, I'm
dollars
good. I'm just coughing. Yeah.
of value, which, and then you have this moment where he's standing outside in the Rose Garden with his advisors. And instead of being concerned about the fact that he might have completely tanked the entire American economy, he is gloating about the fact that he was able to increase his stock market by 2,500 points. And for him, he said, "Oh, that's historic. That's never happened before." No, what's historic is that you absolutely trashed the entire, U.S. economy. What's historic is the fact that the entire world no longer has the faith and confidence in the United States to invest in the United States or in the
Correct.
U.S. dollar. What's
Yeah.
historic is that you destroyed the dreams of all your citizens. That's what's historic. The two
The
and a half
10
thousand,
trillion, 10
yeah,
trillion in losses prior to the one
yes,
and a half trillion in gains.
and
That's fucking historic.
the destruction of the economic underpinning of the entire world, which has been based on the US dollar, which has given us so much leverage, which has given our
Yeah.
value so much leverage. He's just busy pissing it away in a way that is, astonishing. And that is historic. I'll give him that much. The 2,500 surge in stock prices, yeah, it was interesting, notable, but not as historic as the other stuff that he's doing, which is completely destroying the good faith and credit of the United States of America.
Well, and you bring up a great point because Mark Carney did something today that was very interesting. And I'm sure we'll get to it in a larger extent in the FiveStack. But Mark Carney basically called Donald Trump, Trump's America, an enemy of Canada, like a national security threat
Mm.
to Canada because of what he has done to the global economy. Mark Carney is an economist. Like he is one of the world's biggest, greatest names when it comes to the economy. And the reason why he did that was twofold. One is leverage. The other one is it's true. What he did for his friends and to other people. If the fruit of this life is to be of good character and do acts for the common good, he did the exact opposite, where he decided that he was going to enrich his friends and himself. He was going to make $415 billion or $415 million, by shorting the market. He and his friends did it. Besant did it. Lutnick did it. Everybody was involved in this. And you're starting to see the receipts come out. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, as hot as she is,
Oh,
as cute as she is, by the way, she looks like the fucking missing link of human beings. She
okay.
looks like a tag between,
I was a
like
little
if you
worried
wanted
about
to
that.
approve of evolution and
Yeah.
creation, she is evolution. She looks like a fucking Neanderthal.
All right.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, minutes and days prior to this announcement, started buying stock that was so in the toilet and going further into the toilet that saw these big bounces that she made something in the neighborhood of 20 to 25 million people, $20 to $25 million.
$25.
So
Unbelievable.
if you are if you are a human being who has the ability to listen to Marjorie Taylor Greene and know that she made those incredibly astute stock trades, you
She's a
go to
stock trader,
yourself,
isn't she?
no, she's a fucking moron. She's a fucking idiot. She's a Karen. She's a
Yeah.
moron. She's got no stock experience at all. And then if you understand what happened yesterday and you look at the manipulation of stock prices, the investigations that are going into what happened yesterday, you can't, if you're an American who's struggled, I don't care who you voted for, I don't care if you're a Democrat, I don't care if you're a Republican, if you're an American who's struggled to build a nest egg and you watched it disappear over the past couple of days, while those people you fucking voted for to bring you freedom and freedom from immigrants and freedom from, oversight and all the other shit that he promised you, none of that happened yesterday. He rugged you. He fucked you. He screwed every single American. He screwed the economy. He screwed the global economy so that he could get really fucking rich really quick and repay other people with money that doesn't belong to him. It belongs to you. It belongs to you. And he did that intentionally yesterday. And over the past 7 days, Zeb, you and I both know
It was
that.
a plan. It was in broad daylight. It's interesting because the last time we had these kind of dips where people were buying into people like Marjorie Taylor Greene was COVID. And the other time we've had it was a 2008 crash. These massive crashes, these sort of corrections that happen sort of by external forces sometimes, those massive dips are often bought into by people who are very, very suspect. And in this case, Marjorie Taylor Greene and Donald Trump are very, very suspect. They are, in fact, if you this
Sus.
was
The kids call it sus, by the way.
yeah, sus. This is a criminal lineup. You'd have them both out there, and you'd be like, okay, which one did it? Although both might have. But it leads me to this other thing, which I'm really struggling to understand, and I know you've got a grasp in this. This is story number 4, which is what Carney did with the bond market, and why. If people think this is over, you're completely wrong. This is a little bit of quiet that we maybe have had for the last 24 hours, but the treasuries remain under enormous pressure. It looks to me like the sell-off of US treasuries by people like Japan, by people like China, by people like Canada continues, and they're not coming back. And that is about a bigger warning as anyone can give in terms of what's heading for the US economy, because we have a lot of debt. $250 billion that is just about to mature that we've got to figure out how to renegotiate or get new credit for.
Drop in the bucket to the 35 million trillion.
But still $250 billion, and we may not be able to really finance that at the rates that we think we deserve because of Donald Trump. In fact, he screwed up our credit so much, like he screwed up his own credit. And who would have thunk the guy that we elected president, who was previously bankrupt 7 times, would actually screw up the country's ability to have any credit? But he has, of course. They're ditching bonds, and they're ditching them quickly. So explain to me, this brilliant post that you had on deanblundell.substack.com today was all about Carney's checkmate, and about it's his thinking that has really inspired these other these other nations in terms of shedding their treasuries and the impact that's going to have. But I think it's just it's a bit wonkish, but here we are doing some wonky talk.
Yeah, wonky talk. I love it. Wonky talk, honky talk. So listen, one of the things that a lot of people don't understand is how in debt America is, right? To the tune of 35 trillion. All that, like when you say they've got 35 trillion in debt, everybody goes, oh, that must be to banks. No, it's to countries. Canada is one of the biggest bondholders of that debt. Japan is the biggest bondholder of that debt. China is one of the biggest. England is one of the biggest. The EU is the biggest at 1.5 trillion. So he has trillions of outstanding bonds. Bonds are these things that you sell, and I'll just kind of take you through it as I understand it, because I've had to kind of re-educate myself as to what treasury bonds are. Governments will, when they're going broke, they'll go, okay, we're going to sell you bonds, which is like this promissory note where you can buy this thing and you give it to our country, and if we do well financially, you do well financially. America is not doing well financially. Fucking shocker. And so Canada is one of the 4th biggest out of the 110 countries that basically own the United States debt, because all they do is borrow. They're like a They're like a drunk Mar-a-Lago chick
Oh, I
that has
mean,
just borrowed and borrowed and
they've been able
borrowed
to
over
do it
time.
over the years because they have this US dollar, which has always been in good standing, which the world has always
It's the
respected.
global
And
reserve.
you knew that
Yeah,
if you have US dollars, in case there's if your country is going through any crisis, you retreat to the US
sure,
dollar because you know that that's going to be safe.
sure.
And now for the first time, people are beginning to think because of Donald Trump,
Not
hey,
safe.
maybe it's not safe anymore because he's crazy.
Yeah.
Um,
So Canada started this thing. It was about a month and a half, 2 months ago. As soon as Donald Trump started doing the 51st state bullshit, and we're going to take over your country and we're going to tariff you. Mark Carney, smart. He's like, we need to start selling Canadian bonds in U.S. dollars, and then he started to lean on other countries. Listen, that tour he went on of the EU, that precipitated some phone calls with Japan, with China, with a few other countries. The other biggest debt holders of U.S. T bills in the in the world,
mhm.
and he basically said, let's trickle some of this out. Let's start the slow bleed of American dollars and flood the marketplace with American dollars if they continue to do
Mm,
this. And so when Donald Trump levied all those tariffs the other day, I don't know if you know this, but Japan started to kind of sell some bonds. They're like,
yeah.
we're going to sell these T bills and see what happens. And that started the world shaking at its financial core to the point where Donald Trump and his brain dead brain trust decided, oh my God, we're seeing the sell off of our dollar. We need to do something. And that resulted in what we saw yesterday, which
Correct.
was the cancellation of all those tariffs. If you understand anything about Mark Carney, is that he operates in silence and then he goes and gets the job done.
Mhm.
That was a coordinated attack and a coordinated effort on behalf of Canada and several other countries at the urging of Mark Carney to tell the free world, you want to scare the shit out of America? Start selling their money, start selling their debt, start flooding the zone with all of their T bills. Do it right now. And there was this coordinated panic on top of that coordinated effort, which ended the tariff bullshit yesterday. But it didn't really end it. What it did is it prolonged it for another 30 days. And so
Mm.
it's this enormous game of chicken where all these countries that he's trying to tariff hold all of America's debt. And all of those countries are going, go ahead. And this is Mark Carney's idea.
Now,
Go
now,
ahead, get
now,
us, but we're going to start liquidating your country. We're going to start driving your dollar into the fucking ground. And that started to happen yesterday to the point where Donald Trump pulled the chute. Everybody started coming up with different narratives about why they decided to end the actual tariff war or pause the tariff war for 90 days. But he had to have something, and that was China. So he instituted 145%, not 125. He put another 20 on top of it
yeah.
just because he's a fucking moron. And that is also crushing the U.S. economy today. The stock market wasn't up today. It wasn't a big rally today.
No.
And so Donald Trump is effectively in a corner and performatively telling people, we got this, no big deal. And he needed that win yesterday of that stock market bounce. But today, everything kind of came back to reality. And trust me, when I tell you this, and this is very fucking true, is that every country that owns U.S. debt has the ability to drive the United States into the fucking toilet. And it is at the behest of Mark
And
Carney
it's
because
happening.
those are what are called countermeasures, my
Now,
friend.
who in their right mind, you might own your home, for example, you might owe a mortgage on your home. Say your bank loans you, $100,000 for your mortgage. Is it wise generally to
Threaten?
threaten your bank
No.
with extraordinary measures that may bankrupt them in order to reduce your mortgage debt or to reduce your monthly payments on the mortgage debts? It's not
No.
wise. It's not
No.
wise. No one would think it's a good idea. But this is in fact what they're doing because when Donald Trump comes to Canada and he says, you guys steal $100 billion from us every day, or we subsidize you $100 billion every year for all these tariffs, he's not taking into account that Canada's also paying $350 billion or holds $350 billion in treasuries. So in fact, who's beholden to whom is the question, and who does he go after? China, 788 million, or sorry, billion
Billion.
in treasuries, and Japan, a trillion.
1.5
Yeah.
trillion. Japan.
So you've got all
1.5
these,
trillion in the
yeah.
EU.
And
380
these are the
billion
countries
in
he's going
Canada.
after. These are the
Yeah.
countries he's choosing to, He's
It's
choosing to try
so
and bully.
stupid.
It's so stupid. It again leads you to only one conclusion: the guy must either be insane or a sociopath or all of it combined. Because why would you do something like that? It just does not make any sense.
Well, not only does it not make any sense, like he lost the
Mm-hmm.
tariff war. And
Mm-hmm.
then after he lost the tariff war, because we threatened, Canada led the charge to threaten devaluing the American dollar in a fucking hurry.
Mm-hmm.
He then turned around and said, by the way, Canada, take off all those tariffs. And he did it through Lutnick, Howard Nutlick. He's like, it's not a smart move for Canada to keep these tariffs on because our tariffs are staying. Our retaliatory tariffs, they're not fucking going anywhere. We're going to keep those in place until some common sense gets breathed back into the United States financial ecosystem.
So we can't
We're
go back
not,
and forth all the time like that. It's
no,
crazy.
we're gonna stay the course.
Pandemonium.
And they begged us through a threat of all things. Lutnick threatened Canada and said, we're going to hit you basically with the same Chinese tariffs unless you get rid of those extra retaliatory tariffs. And I thought to myself, oh my fucking God, beggars cannot be choosers. You are done. We own you. The entire free world owns the United States of America and their monetary policy and their debt because they have so overspent and overextended themselves to the point in their own service economy, minus manufacturing, because they don't manufacture shit. They don't manufacture anything. And they're trying to get that back to the United States so they can start pushing their way around, which is the entire purpose of these tariffs. They're literally threatening countries that they just lost to. And what doesn't go over with us here in Canada is a threat when we know you're begging. He's begging. Lutnick was begging Canada to drop those tariffs. Lutnick was begging Canada on behalf of Trump to stop the punitive damages. And not only is it not stopping, today, I don't know if this is story number 3, but it should be, Mark Carney came out and basically said, you know how Donald Trump has decided to name Toronto and Canada an enemy combatant of the United States and a national security threat due to the fentanyl? We have real reasons to consider the United States a national security threat. One is guns. Mm-hmm. And so he came out today and said, now, not only are we not relieving those tariffs, we're going to double down until you stop the flow of illegal guns into this country, until you stop the flow of illegal hate, drugs. And then and I couldn't believe he said this. He went after the tech oligarchs and said, and all the hate and misogyny and anti-Islamophobia and the Islamophobia and the anti-Semitism that comes from the tech oligarchs on those online platforms, we're coming for you too. And that was a sea change moment on top of several other sea change moments where we decided to assert ourselves as a country and say, not only are we not playing this fucking game about fake fentanyl, which you're trying to play with us, we're going to turn the table and we're going to make our effort to negotiate with you any new free trade agreement or any security trade agreement with you contingent on you not flooding Canada with your American hate, guns, and drugs and bullshit. Mm-hmm. And it was amazing watching that take off today because what Mark Carney did to Donald Trump was not only turn the tables on him, he basically gave him a mandate. And he said, unless you're willing to work with us, not only are we not going to work with you, we're going to continue to penalize you because we can. And that was a very proudful moment for myself as a Canadian watching that today.
Well, he is really turning out to be a good foil for Donald Trump. And one of the things he's talking about is Canada is an emerging superpower because as the United States sheds its responsibility around the world, Canada is lifting up that responsibility and is protecting those democratic values and he's protecting those liberal values. So, and what he's saying implicitly is, Donald Trump, you can't change America. We want America back the way it was. We want America back with the values that reflect our values. And it's implicit in that he's supporting the most of the American people as well, who are desperate to get rid of Donald Trump. And I think everyone can see now the approval rating's down to 41% now. Big drop this week. I think people can start seeing quite clearly who Donald Trump is. And now, to have a Canadian prime minister stand up for the American people in the way he's standing up for the American people by protecting these values, by standing up to Donald Trump, I think is remarkable. That guns move was a brilliant move. The bonds move was a brilliant move. He's a smart guy. That was actually the number 4 story, the Canada thing. So that was all Canada. Number 3 story, though, we can keep talking about Canada if you want.
No, I'm sure I'll be able to kind of
Yeah.
weasel Canada into the conversation, so don't worry about it.
The thing is, the third number 3 is also about tariffs, and the tariffs that bugged me most is this 125, 145, whatever it is. He wakes up with a different number every day. Percent tariff that he's charging so-called China, but really charging American consumers for the goods they buy from China. What it's really doing in China is that it's creating the perfect ecosystem for all the world's biggest manufacturers to go into China and set up their factories there. It's doing exactly the opposite of what he thinks it's going to do. He thinks that tariffs are going to bring American manufacturing back, but it's not. All these manufacturing entities, companies that might be setting up in Vietnam or other places in the South Pacific, are actually now being less attractive because they've got all these tariffs that they're about to have to pay the United States. China's this vast country. It's got resources. It's got a production system. If you keep everything within a country, you don't have to pay all these tariffs. The only tariffs that you'll land up paying, or that would land up being paid, is by the American consumer, which is going to be charged 145. But the rest of the world doesn't have those tariffs. So if you're a manufacturer looking to set up your shop, your factory, or whatever, where are you looking now? You're looking at China. You're not looking at Vietnam anymore. You're not looking at the United States anymore. You're looking at China. And so everything he's doing, and I've been saying this day after day over the last few days, looks to me like he's doing it in China's interest. This is all policy that is so pro-China that it actually boggles the mind. And to that regard, maybe it is pro-China because maybe he's actually just owned by China. Which we'll get to as we get to the number 1 story, which is the fix of yesterday, the insider trading around the Trump media. So I just wanted to raise China as another thing that people need to be understanding, that he's not hurting China with these 145. He's making China some money. He's making the U.S. Treasury some money through these tariffs. But really, he's hurting America's future prospects as a manufacturing entity, and he's actually building up China's manufacturing sector.
Do you know how much it would cost for iPhone if it were built in America today?
Oh.
Today's current minimum wage standard. Do you know how much it would cost for you to buy an iPhone? Because I have that number.
I don't know, $10,000. I don't know, lots.
Not quite,
Yeah.
but between $3,000 and $6,000,
Wow.
depending on who builds it. Now, there's a problem that we have with manufacturing. That's why everybody goes to China, is because they pay their people slave labor wages.
Mm-hmm.
They force them to live in apartment complexes like the Foxconn apartment complexes, which has nets all around the building because people keep killing themselves because they hate their lives. Like, that's a real thing. That's China's advantage in this, is that they can subjugate their people and force them to do anything they want, anytime they want, for as little as they want to pay them. Mm-hmm. America doesn't have that privilege. Mm-hmm. America, you're not going to get, a 35-year-old white guy who's used to working in the oil field making $120,000 a year, taking a job at a fucking iPhone facility and watching Howard Nutlick talk about how we want our Americans to put those little screws in the iPhones. I don't know if you saw that the other day. Yeah. It's never fucking
These guys won't even wait tables. Never mind that, It's like, it's not happening.
It's the same. It's the reason why immigration works. It's the reason why, illegals exist. It's the reason why people come to these countries. They're like, hey, fuck, I'm going to make $7.50 an hour or $12.50 an hour. My God, I only make 35 cents an hour in Venezuela or in Costa Rica or in Mexico or in Guatemala or Venezuela, whatever the situation is. That's why we have the immigration problem that we have. But there's a real delta here that not a lot of people talk about when they're like, yeah, bring manufacturing back to Canada or America. It will never happen because you are fat cats that will never work for that amount of money, that give you the things that you love at the rate that you want them, at the price that you can afford. That's just the fucking facts. And so when we talk about this subject, when we talk about manufacturing in the United States, and not only is it not tenable, even if it was, It's 8 to 10 years to build a factory to fucking build anything on an assembly line. Like, it's not happening tomorrow. We've talked about this several times. So the bill of goods that every maggot out there is going, yeah, he's making America great again. No, that's just what he's telling you. You don't understand the details and the reasoning behind why this is not only untenable, but it's a fucking unicorn dream conversation for you to bring that manufacturing back here, because you are not the economy that is run by a dictator that gets to tell people how they do shit. That's why you elected this guy.
Nor
You
should you
elected
be.
this guy for
Yeah.
fucking freedom. And the people that make that freedom possible and the convenience possible, they're not free at all. They're a communist dictatorship in China, or they're in Vietnam where wages are like 35 cents an hour, or Taiwan where wages are like 12 to 15 cents an hour in some cases. Their economies are so incredibly different, and the cost of doing business is so incredibly different that you can't understand. And you're too stupid to fucking get it, where you can't even have this conversation with some of those people.
Well, we can and we should, and we shouldn't be calling them stupid. But
You and I are different.
Yeah, but I will, look, the manufacturing ever comes back to the United States, it's going to be done by robots. It's not going to be done by humans. I mean, we're no longer building.
Or child labor. Did you see the announcement out of Florida where he's like, yeah, we're probably going to start to have to get kids under the age of 15 to work again.
Why? Because we've basically sent all our illegals across to El Salvador. We no longer have. I mean, this is the stupidity, the stupidity of their policy. It's, anyhow. So we have a problem. This tariff thing needs to go away. And whatever pressure you thought may have been lifted yesterday was not lifted. This whole tariff strategy, especially against China, which holds $1 trillion almost of debt and treasury, U.S. treasuries, it can no longer be a plausible policy. And people need to start pressuring Donald Trump to get rid of this stupid idea that he had, because it's disastrous. And whatever negotiation he thinks is going to happen is not going to serve America's interests. All it's doing is going to hurt America's interests.
Agreed.
All right. You know what number 3 story is going to be? Because we needed some fun here. So we have choices between eggs or shower heads, or both.
Let's do eggs and shower heads, and let's put this into the category of useless.
Okay. So do you want to do shower heads first?
Yeah, White House announced that they're going to take on the lack of
we needed to do this.
Shower head pressure in the United States. That's their big thing after destroying the U.S. economy. The business of the United States is now turning, as the White House put out an announcement today. And I want to read this to you because it's fucking awesome. Like, if you didn't think your country wasn't run by complete fucking morons before this announcement, sorry. I mean, you are. And let me get this for you, because it's truly fucking remarkable stuff.
This is an executive order that he put out, right? Like, he actually signed an EO over this. He's had an issue with shower temperature, shower pressure all for a long time. It dates back to his first administration when he was worried about that, and he was also worried about the number of flushes that it took to get
you can't flush your turd down.
Too many times. You have to flush too many times. It was costing too much money. So the pressure and the especially in the White House, apparently the pressure of the water is not that good. So I think that's why we got an EO with the thing. Did you find it, or should I?
Yeah, I've got it right here.
Okay, yeah, tell us about it.
The White House golden age of America begins right now. If you go to their Twitter feed, it's
golden age of America.
Yeah,
in your dreams.
It's truly incredible. And let me just bring this up. The White House. Hang on one second. I lost it. Shower. I have to. You don't go anywhere, everybody.
Oh no, we wouldn't miss this.
White House showerhead. The President Donald Trump: no longer will showerheads be weak and worthless. This is
he's just trolling America. It's just a troll. It's trolling the people. He does this after the tariff.
This is great. Let me read this to you. Yeah. Undoing the left's war on water pressure. Today, President Donald J. Trump signed an executive order to end the Obama-Biden war on water pressure and make America's showers great again. I'm not done. The order directs the Secretary of Energy to immediately rescind overly complicated federal rule that redefined showerhead under Obama and Biden. Twice in the last 12 years, those administrations put out massive regulations defining the word showerhead. Biden administration, this is not true, was a staggering 13,000 words. Oxford English Dictionary, by contrast, defines showerhead in one sentence.
Oh, for God's sake.
President Trump is restoring sanity to at least one small part of federal regulations by returning the straightforward meaning of showerhead from 1992 energy law, which sets a simple 2.5 gallons per minute standard for showers. The order frees Americans from excessive regulation that turns basic household items into a bureaucratic nightmare. No longer will showerheads be weak and worthless. Listen, if we get nothing else out of the administration, this is fucking exactly why I'm here.
Well, what can you say about that? I mean, what can you say about it? Just, he tanked your economy, he tanked $10 trillion out of the value of the stock market, but he gave you showerheads. There you go, MAGA. It's a good exchange.
But did he?
But
Like,
did he
how
really?
is he? Like, there's no, like, I read that and I'm like, okay, well, like, as
He's
ridiculously
liberated you.
stupid as this is,
Don't you feel liberated though?
where's the plan
He's
of
liberated. He's liberated you
liberating
from your
shower
household
pressure?
items and your regulations. He's taken those shower heads and he's liberated them. They're free shower heads. Free shower heads for everybody.
You can't make this up. I
You
mean,
can't make it
like
up.
fuck, after destroying the U.S. economy and alienating every major world partner, he's like, what's next? Showerhead
And
pressure.
that was what he had to go into and sign that executive order because he's ruling by fiat these days. So the other story was the egg story, not as fun, but interestingly enough, they've been talking about how the egg prices are just awful, and they've been able to save them. He was going on and on about that in a press conference the other day. So he says that the egg prices were down, but they're not actually down. They're at new record highs. According to the latest information, $6.23 per dozen in March is the current price of eggs in the United States. As an average, that seems a little bit high, but still, it keeps going up. He says one thing, he lies about it, and then, the facts are there every day prove him wrong, just like the tariff strategy, just like everything else. It's all
Just
one
like
big
everything.
lie.
Just
It's
like
all big
everything.
one lie. Yeah.
Yeah, on Monday, he falsely claimed that egg prices were down 79%. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, they're down 79% because of my work. Today, egg prices hit an all-time high. They are now $6.30 per dozen in Canada. I bought a dozen eggs today. This is a true story at Food Basics. That's where I get my eggs for $3.42 per dozen. So roughly half the price. The margin when it comes to eggs is zero. And here's the interesting part. The United States has been quietly trying to bring eggs into the United States, but because of the tariffs and how much of a fucking dickhead he is, not only are they getting more expensive, but people don't want to give the United States any eggs.
Right. That's the whole strategy, was to go to Denmark and get the Danish eggs. But of course, the Danes are not that happy with the Americans. So anyhow, so that's the story number two. And now story number one, we're going to talk about Carney's other problems, but we'll talk about them another day. But I do want to talk about the actual big win for him yesterday. So he gets this is the pump and dump scheme. I've been following his long history of doing pump and dumps for a long period of time. It started with his dad. He bought time stock for a while whenever his dad was, still functioning. We're talking about Fred. In the 80s. So he bought some time stock, and then he threatened that he was going to take over time. And then as he was talking it up, the price of the stock price went up because, hey, Donald Trump's going to buy Time magazine, but he wasn't really. He was just pumping and dumping it. He was just going to raise up the prices by talking a lot of bullshit in the media. And when it was at its high, Fred would sell, and then, it would tank the prices. This is basically what happened yesterday. He's been doing this over and over and over again. He did it with the crypto. He did it with Melania coin and Trump coin just the day before he was inaugurated. It was another pump and dump scheme. He pumped it all the way up, made $13 billion off that thing. Personally, he made $100 million just off the trades of that thing. And then he collapsed it again, right? So, and he's done it a couple of times with crypto. It's what he does. And yesterday he did it in the biggest way possible. So we spoke about the 2,500 climb in the stock market, but personally, Personally, he made $415 million yesterday. While he's working for the American people, while he's there serving them and serving their interests, he spent all that time earning himself $415 million in a way that's completely illegal.
Mhm.
And we know that it was illegal because he did two things that kind of made it obvious. We spoke about the tweet at the start of the day. There's the ticker symbol DJT that he used in that tweet. He's told everyone to buy stocks yesterday morning. But also yesterday, Trump Media, which is currently controlled by Donald Trump Jr. through a family trust. So all these assets, remember I told you yesterday that it was worth $5 billion because of this Trump Media thing, which owns which owns Truth Social.
Yeah, and Truth Social, by the way, only has about 400,000 or 500,000 actual users.
Yeah.
So it's not only a shell; it is a fucking game. To your
Yeah.
point, yes.
And so he is worth $5 million. It's owned by, because he can't own it personally, he put it in a family trust that's controlled by Don Jr. So Don Jr., who runs the family trust, yesterday filed paperwork so they could sell a huge amount of these Trump media shares, including a lot that was supposedly assigned to Donald Trump, at these new elevated prices that they reached yesterday, which means they must have had in their brain, in their day, that they were going to pump up the stock during the day, and by the end of the day, they wanted to sell it, which maybe is why stock prices are down today. They already had filed with the SEC paperwork that they were going to file at these increased prices.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't need, it's pretty much an out in the open crime that this guy committed, and he'll get away with it because he's got immunity, but it is a crime. And $415 million, instead of doing the business of the American people, instead of worrying about your pensions, instead of worrying about your retirements, instead of worrying about your kids' education or your health care or, the pandemics that are potentially could hit America, he spent his day earning himself $415 million. And that's all I can say about that.
Did you see the video? I'll comment on that in just a second. We'll talk about the rugging and the pump and dump and how it works. Did you see him in the Oval Office with Charles Schwab and Roger Penske?
Yeah.
And Joey Logano, NASCAR champion, NASCAR Series champion. He came to the White House. This was after they gained 3,000 points on the Dow yesterday by announcing the end of tariffs. He pointed to Charles Schwab and he goes, "That guy made 2.5 billion today, and that guy made 900 million." Schwab and Penske, respectively. That was the whole idea. That was the entire point. And Donald Trump didn't mention that he made $415 million yesterday.
And you know what? Sorry.
Go ahead. No,
you know why Charles Schwab made the money that he made, why he was even in the White House, is that he's in business with Donald Trump on a special fund called the Truth.5, whatever that is. And he's a custodian of $250 million of Trump media stocks, I suppose, is what they are. So he's in control of that. And that's why he was in the office getting the insider trade so he could make the $2.5 billion off it, while also managing $250 million in Trump's company.
Yeah, he was promised 10 times return. He got it yesterday, and all you have to do is show up and endorse me and make me look like I'm cool. That's exactly what happened yesterday. Same with Penske. Same with everybody else that's associated with him, whether it's Lutnick, whether it is Bannon. Bannon made a bunch of money yesterday, too. All those guys, everybody associated with Donald Trump made billions and billions of dollars yesterday, tanking the economy on purpose and then bringing it back from the dead, deciding that, we're going to be flexible. All of those things that we talked about are real. Donald Trump is not the president of the United States because he wants to lead the United States into some kind of golden age. Donald Trump is on a revenge tour. Donald Trump is on a financial revenge tour. And every decision that gets made when it comes to the health of the economy of that country is made with his economic health first, his interests first. So anything that you see them do, any kind of, whether it's a Bitcoin announcement, whether it's a tariff announcement, whether it's something where every economist goes, not only does this not make any sense, this is bad for America, this is bad for the global economy. The only answer to that is it's good for Donald Trump. it's going to benefit him. And we saw that again yesterday. And all the people around him, and I'm seeing people in the comments say, why isn't he in jail? Why has he not been
There's
arrested?
no
Why is he not?
FBI, there's no SEC, and he's got immunity.
Because the SCOTUS has given him immunity to be able to do this in the national best interest of the country, because everybody has decided to vote him in. So you can't look at the FBI, because he's gutting the FBI, he's gutting the CIA, he's
The
gutting ATF.
SEC, new SEC chair just got announced today. He's a pro crypto guy who's basically going to just rubber stamp anything that
Anything he wants.
Yeah, so there's no enforcement here. There's no law enforcement going to happen. He's going to crime away in public, and he can do it, and you can't stop him, America. Well, you can actually stop him if you choose to stop him, but that's the only way that he gets to get stopped, is if America actually lives up to the constitutional requirement that the American people actually have to get rid of the government that does not serve their interests. It's in there in the Constitution, and America has to do it. It's sort of there. It has to be done. One last thing about Charles Schwab is his granddaughter works for. He's a deputy chief of staff at the Treasury Department, so she works for the Treasury Secretary. Yeah,
shocking stuff.
It is shocking.
I'm amazed. I'm amazed. I'm amazed. Yeah, listen, America. And we say this all the time. I feel sorry for you.
Mm.
I feel I'm apologetic. I'm not angry at America. I love America. I love Americans. Every time I've been to the South, I've golfed at Pinehurst. I've vacationed in Chicago. I've been to almost every state with the exception of South Carolina. I have not been to Alabama, Missouri. I've been everywhere in the United States. Lovely, lovely, lovely people, hardworking people. And I think about those people every time Donald Trump opens his fucking mouth to sieve their wealth from them to himself and to all of his friends. That's what's happening here. Not only is he's got your hands on your tax dollars, now he's got his hands on the idea that you're going to get rich quick, and he's going to fuck you. He's fucking you. He fucked America. He's trying to fuck the global markets, and he doesn't give a shit who's at risk. All he's trying to do is enrich himself and his friends. And he's 78. Listen, he knows he's going to die. He's never going to live forever. And so this is his swan song. His swan song is beg, borrow, cheat, steal. That's it. Anything he can do in the interim, and he's got the power to do it, he will, and he's doing it. So I apologize to my American friends. You're in it. You're in it, and it's not going to get any better. The rest of the world isn't coming for you. You're going to have to save yourselves.
And the reason he's doing this, he's actually broke. He actually can't even manage his own finances.
Dude, America's broke. America's broke.
America's less broke than he is. He really is broke. He's only got the $5 billion in the bank right now from this Trump media organization, because the Chinese are basically buying him. And that's why he's doing all this, because he doesn't want to end his life destitute and poor in the streets, which is where he should be, or worse, behind bars, which is where he should be. So this is what he does. And that is our show tonight. Dean, the number 2 new bestseller on the Substack charts. I mean, that is kind of insane. It's unbelievable. You only have been on Substack for a month or so.
Yeah, like 48 days. I joined Substack 48 days ago. I got off of Twitter 48 days ago. I used Twitter to supplement the Substack. I've never been happier. Had a conversation with a friend of mine today who's also off of Twitter for 37 days. And he said, dude, I feel like a new human being. Mm-hmm. Substack has been this incredible opportunity for me to be able to continue doing what I'm doing and connect with people in a very real way. And I want to thank everybody. And I noticed that you were on the new bestseller list as well today, and and I see hundreds and hundreds of people on this live stream today again, and so grateful for the support that we've received and trying to communicate to people what's really going on so that you can understand what's going to happen to you. We're a couple of older cats, right? What are you, 49, 47?
I'm 52, man.
52. Oh, we're the same age. We're both 52. Yes. We've seen this before.
49 if you want.
Let's go with 52 because I am too.
Yeah.
We've seen this before, and we love Canada. We love America. Zeb does an incredible job of keeping tabs on America all the way from Toronto. Most of his content is from there. I would say 70% of the people that follow me on Substack now are from the United States of America. And I get this one comment from a lot of different people. They're like, thank you for letting us know what you see from up there.
Mhm.
Thank you for communicating with us about what you're reading in tea leaves as it pertains to our relationship with Canada and the United States. So we're going to continue to do this. We would encourage you to go and subscribe to our Substacks, free or paid. We both have incredible deals on right now. Me for the next 3.5 days, where you get a lifetime subscription for 20% less than the yearly subscription. Excuse me.
And you get an extra year. Oh, you get the lifetime membership.
Lifetime. Yeah,
That's
lifetime.
amazing.
Because I've been so blown away by everybody's support
Mhm.
that I'm like, I got to do something meaningful for people. So please, if you want to go and sign up for free, perfect. If you want to get that lifetime subscription for less than what you can get a yearly subscription for, great. Zev's got 30% off an annual subscription right now at narrative.org. Go and sign up for his stuff, because no one does a deeper dive into Elon, into Donald Trump, and into the tea leaves around what's going on than my friend Zev Shalev. So I would highly encourage everybody to go and sign up there as well.
I'll say one last thing, and thank you for those nice words. This podcast, call it what you will, the show, has really been a revelation to me. I've done shows for 8 years now on these kinds of topics, but a show that it both encompasses a Canadian perspective and an American perspective is really cool. It's really interesting,
Well, we
especially at a
need
time
each
when
other.
there's this
Yeah.
conflict, that we still have this way of communicating with each other, the way we can still talk. I mean, the Carney may call it an enemy state, may even become an enemy state, but we can still continue the dialogue between the people of America and the people of Canada, and and just the community here is outstanding, and
Mm.
it's been so great to have all the support. You guys have been incredibly supportive, and it's so helpful to know that there is actually an audience out there, and it keeps growing. And ever since we started the show, which is really just a month ago, my numbers have taken off too in an incredible way, and I credit you with that. So thank you, Dean, and
Thank
thank
you.
you to everyone who's watching. We'll be back tomorrow for another Five Stack, and we'll see you then. Have a good night, everybody.